Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols. So, how are you doing today?
Well, trying to stay cool. You know, I've said it before and I will continue to say it. The man that invented air conditioning should be praised on a regular daily basis during the many warm summer months.
I feel like this is a weather report at the beginning of every podcast. Suffice it to say, it's hot in Texas.
Right? It is.
So I was going to look at a different direction today than we've normally done. I know we go into lots of blogs and different things that you find oftentimes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And we do some light things, and we've done some heavier things recently, which have gotten lots of downloads and attention. And so one of the things that we've looked at or touched on many times, I mean, we've touched on some of my story. Everybody knows the dishwasher. And we've touched on your story. I mean, people know about your son, Eric, but they don't really know like the whole story surrounding it, which is kind of what drives the whole reason that we've done this podcast. I mean, the whole, your whole move towards doing helping out families, right, kind of comes from your story and kind of what happened to you and your family. And so at least that's what I get when you tell the story to me when we talk about it offline, off the air. So we thought, you know, it'd be a good chance to have you tell your story in a little bit more depth than we've done in the past and kind of focus on that. And I know you've had some discussions of these kind of new terms that are out there about parents and things. So with that, I mean, I think that we could just let you take it away and go wherever you are looking to go with this. But it's your story, and I think it's important for the listeners to understand your heart and, you know, where you come from and why we do this or why you do this. I mean, I came in on it, but it's still largely you know, the mission that you have personally. I mean, you're doing counseling. You've gone to school for counseling. You're a teacher. You've spent a lot of focus doing things that are family oriented and child oriented to try to help people have better lives and be happier. And so, with that, I think, you know, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. Well, it focuses around the concept of a term I had never heard of before, and it was titled parental alienation.
Yeah, I had never heard of that either before I knew you.
Okay. Well, it's been around for a really, really long time. The term parental alienation or parental alienation syndrome, which ties to medical terms, was coined back in the mid-1980s by a psychologist named Richard Gardner.
Okay.
But some of the history is not just something he came up with or discovered in 1984, 85. It goes way further back. In fact, some of the earliest written mentions of what we know today as parental alienation goes back to the 1930s. Okay. And I would argue it's probably been around since men and women got divorced. And it has a lot of different names. In legal terms, parental alienation or parental alienation syndrome will get you a lot of bad looks. A lot of people have a lot of negative ties to that. But some other names that are out there are hostile aggressive parenting, resist refuse, attachment-based parental alienation, or pathological enmeshment. I mean, there's other names out there, but these are the ones that I hear most common.
So none of those sound like happy-go-lucky parent love to me.
No.
Right. They all have some kind of negative connotation to them.
Oh, yeah. In fact, the one thing they all do have in common, the name, is that they are, when one parent tries desperately to get the child or children to hate the other parent. And this is usually as a consequence of a divorce.
Wow.
I mean, every child, in my humble opinion, deserves the right to have a loving, healthy relationship with both parents.
Yeah.
Now, some parents don't want to be a parent, and they do things to push the child away.
Yeah.
They make promises that they never deliver on. They make points to, hey, let's go to the baseball game. And then right before, when the kid's waiting to go, he calls or she calls and cancels at the last minute. And they do that all the time.
Right.
Or they just disappear for a year or two at a time with no communication and say why or where they've been, and then suddenly pop back in and then disappear for a while.
Yeah.
That's called estrangement.
Right.
When the parent does something to make the child have a legitimate reason not to like them. But alienation is radically different. It's when it's a systematic deprogramming of one parent to make the child hate the other parent.
Wow.
And many times
like on purpose.
Absolutely on purpose.
Wow, I can't imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And it is child abuse. Period. The end. In my mind, there is no debate.
Sure.
And this is what happened to me. Eric's mom and I, we had been growing apart. And she had a variety of physical health issues, and I was doing most of the raising of Eric. I was taking him to school and or picking him up from school, daycare, whatever it might be. I was doing most of the child care when we were at home, evenings, weekends. I was getting him up to take him to preschool or daycare. I was taking care of him on the weekends during summers. I was doing most of the cooking at the house, the cleaning of the house, most of the yard work. I was doing a lion's share. We had dogs. I was taking care of the dogs. She would spend days, even weeks at a time in bed.
Wow.
She would get up, she would go to work, and then she'd come home. And then there were days where she wouldn't even go into work.
Now, I want to be clear, was this just laziness, or was this like...
She had a medical condition known as pseudotumor cerebri.
Okay.
Basically, we have the spinal fluid that goes around our back also flows around our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like our blood circulates through our body, the spinal fluid circulates around our skull.
Sure.
And at the base of our, where our spine enters the skull, there is a little valve.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hers did not work very well, and so fluid would flow in, but fluid would not flow out.
So lots of pressure.
Yes.
Yeah, my sister had a stent put in that would actually drain that fluid from her brain because she had a brain tumor.
Okay, well, they ultimately did the same thing for Eric's mom. And so some of it was legit, but I think also she kind of enjoyed the attention that she would get, that everybody, oh, you're so sick. Oh, what can we do?
I mean, I love that when people do that with me.
Well, true. Hers just got pathologically dangerous.
So you're talking extreme.
Yes. And she would play games telling me, pitting Eric against me, making her the good parent, me the bad parent. I would tell Eric, well, look, before we can play with the Lincoln Logs, we need to pick up the Legos. Sure. And he would get upset, and we'd be downstairs in the living room, she'd be upstairs in the bedroom, and she would holler down, what are you doing to make him angry? Stop making him yell.
Okay.
He would want to, I'm making dinner, and he would want a snack. He would want, like candy or something like that. And I'm telling him, no, we're going to eat here in just a couple of minutes. Eat your supper. When you get done with supper, then that can be your dessert. Mm-hmm. Well, he would run up to her and she would yell down, let him eat whatever he wants. If he wants candy, give him candy now.
Okay.
Stop picking on him. And so these were kinds of things. And I would say in my research, I've discovered that in a lot of family relations, sometimes kids will play one parent against the other. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and the parents unwillingly go, well, oh, don't be so hard on him, Martha. It's not so bad. Or, mom will say something, mom will want to be harsh, and dad will, cut some slack, he's just a boy. Or boys will be boys. Or, dad wants to come down real hard and mom comes to the rescue.
Yeah.
That's level 1 alienation. It's mild, it's low level, and it's not very effective. And
Right.
the kids and all kids tend to play mom and dad against each other. I know
I remember my kids doing it all the time.
Yeah. And
it didn't work very well for them. We were a little bit more on the same page. But yeah, I mean, that is natural, right? Like I can remember doing that as a kid myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I tried to do the same thing. When mom says no, you go to dad. And my dad, though, he would go, "What'd your mother say?"
Right.
And he'd go, "Well, if mom said no, so did I."
Then I learned that it was just better to ask forgiveness.
Oh well, yeah. By the time that's why most time when you get to be 16, 17 years old in high school, you have conflict with mom and dad. You stopped asking.
Right. So as this parental alienation behavior started to develop and seemingly get worse with your wife, did the medical procedure of fixing it, did that seem to change anything? Did that happen?
It happened
in the middle.
No, this happened while we were still married, and no, it did not. She would get these massive migraines, and debilitating migraines, and they would start, and they would last for hours, and there were times where,
but it wasn't related to the fluid issue.
No, it was directly related to the fluid.
Okay,
and even after she got the stent, she would still get these from time to time. And she was on a ton of medication, all kinds of those synthetic opioids that, because we're talking, this was 2007, 2008, 2009, that she was taking all these. I think she got the surgery around 2008, 2009.
Sure.
And so long before they knew the damaging effect of these synthetic opioids, the heroin that they were giving her, she was loving it. She was getting all kinds of prescriptions. She was doctor surfing.
It's very addictive.
Oh, absolutely. And again, that's why they are better today than they were, 15 years ago. And so anyway, she would start these, in the morning. And I go to school and take Eric, and I'd pick him up, and we come home, and how you doing? Oh, still feel bad. Do we need to go to the hospital? Because if she could get to the hospital, go to the ER, they would give her some IV fluids or IV drip of that stuff, and it would solve it, in less than an hour.
Sure.
And she'd always say, "No, I'm fine." Well, then we go through the evening. Well, then it would progressively get worse and worse. Well, now I got to put Eric to bed. Well, we don't have family near here to babysit. And Eric's 3 years old. Eric's 4 years old.
Right.
You don't even take no toddler to the emergency room. So we had a couple of people that on occasion we could call to come, but sometimes she'd wait till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And you got to take me to the emergency room. Well, okay. What the hell am I going to do with Eric? Well, I don't really care. You got to take me to the emergency room. And so I try and, reach out to these couple of individuals to see if they could come over and just sleep and be here while I would take her to the hospital.
Sure.
And of course, then that made it hard for me to be to work the next day. And so I missed a lot of days. And in fact, there were times where I would actually miss so many days that I would have to pay back days.
Right.
Because I'd burned through all the days they gave me. I never carried over from the year before. So now I was losing a day's pay because I'd been up all night. And so, it was wearing me slick.
Yeah.
And there was one time, and I'm not proud that I did this, but at one point I got extremely frustrated. She wasn't deciding, do you need to go to the hospital or not? Is this an emergency room migraine or not?
Sure.
And I told her, I said, look, you either need to shit or get off the pot. Make a decision. Either it is or it is not. Because to make this decision, there's a lot of other things now that need to go into place if this is. And I just can't make a snap decision and get it done instantaneously. There's a lot of other people involved if the answer is yes. And the sooner we make this decision, the easier it is. And
so just curious, because it sounds like you were going to the emergency room a lot.
Yes.
And just to, kind of understand that frustration, if you're going frequently and you end up in the emergency room, and the emergency room doctors, I presume, are ending up sending you home.
Yeah, after a couple hours.
So basically, the emergency room isn't doing any good.
Well, they give her the IV drip.
Okay.
And the IV drip, it does work. And it usually, but it takes, a couple hours to get in and then processed. And then they run all the tests. And then they give you the IV drip. And then it takes another hour or two. And then they finally discharge. So usually it'd be about 3.5 to 4.5 hours.
Yeah. See, today you would take her to an IV bar. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of those, but there's actually like IV bars you can go to now.
Really?
Where you go in and you pay them $90 and they hook you up to a saline drip and you get, fresh saline. So it'd be like if you were hungover, you can go to an IV bar, get a saline drip, and it'll get you sobered up a little bit faster.
Okay.
And so there's places now where you can actually do that pretty easily, and you don't need any medical advice or anything to do it, because saline's not going to hurt you.
Okay.
Basically, so maybe a little different.
Well,
might have been a little different today, but clearly it wasn't fixing her problem.
No, it
was a Band-Aid.
It really was, and so she held that against me, and that really spiraled things kind of out of control. She was having a hard time getting tenure at the university. And one time we were having an argument, and I told her, I said, well, this relationship, it isn't going, I think, the way that either one of us is going or would want it to go. And she looked at me and she goes, look, my job is to get tenure here so we can stay. You can fix the marriage if you want to. I don't have time.
And we know that doesn't work.
Well, exactly.
Right. You can't. No marriage can be one-sided.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so anyway, she files for divorce, doesn't tell me, tells me over the telephone. And we had agreed, because I had been up to my mom and dad's to help them out at the farm. And I'd come home because it was over spring break, and Eric was, I come home and my stuff was being boxed up, packed up, and Eric comes out to me and he goes, Daddy, please don't leave. Please don't move out.
Okay.
And I'm going, I'm already living, because we had agreed that we would tell Eric together when I got there. Well, of course, she had to jump the gun because she had to be the good parent.
Sure.
Anyway, so I move out, move over to a buddy's house, and I'm living at his empty house. And that started the separation process. And both of us fell into level 2 parental alienation.
Okay.
I was mad at her. She was mad at me. And we both used Eric to try and pick a side. And I am embarrassed to say that I engaged in level 2 alienation, mostly by asking him, well, what's going on? What's happening at home? Well, what are you doing?
Right.
Because she had suddenly all kinds of people hanging out at the house. This is a woman that, to the best of my knowledge, had no friends. And now suddenly there's all kinds of people hanging out at the house. And so I was trying to figure out, well, who's there? And I was kind of asking him to spy on and tell me. Well, that was causing him to be in the middle.
And at this point, Eric is how old?
Eric is, when we started, it was in kindergarten. He had just turned, his birthday is on Halloween.
Yeah.
And so he was 6.
Yeah.
He was 6. And so anyway.
So you're quizzing a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
About what's happening at the house.
And he tells me, he goes, well, Daddy, Mommy says I can have secrets. She and I can have secrets from you. I don't have to tell you. At which point I realized, you're putting this kid in the middle. That's not the way it should happen.
Right.
And I stopped quizzing and interrogating at that point.
Now, some parents would say, well, then you and I can have secrets that you don't tell Mommy, right? But
sure.
A 6-year-old probably can't keep all the secrets.
No. No, not at all. And I understand, a lot of parents, when you're going through divorce, you're both pissed at each other.
Yeah.
And level 2 alienation occurs frequently in many divorce cases. But after a few months, one or both parents quickly come to the realization that this is putting the kids in the middle. It's detrimental to the kids, and the kids are more important than my anger for my ex.
Yeah.
At which case, then the alienation stops, and the kids actually wind up doing better. And this is what happened with Sherry and her ex-husband. They both were kind of pitting the kids to pick a side. And after a few months, it became very clear that the kids didn't want to be in the middle. They were older. But again, level 2 happens.
So I'm guessing that you and Eric's mom
didn't
go that way. It didn't end up on the happy road where everybody was going to do the best for Eric.
No, we wound up level 3.
Oh.
And level 3 is the most severe. And this is the attempt to erase the other parent from the kids' lives. At first, it wasn't a big deal. And it was fine. As long as Eric's mom thought that she had the upper hand, and she thought that I was groveling after her and miserable after her, then she felt that she had the upper hand and life was good, and she would dictate.
Yeah.
She even said, well, listen, I know I spent our entire tax return from last year. I went out and I bought an attorney, but we'll use the same attorney. At which point I'm going, I don't think so. And my dad says, oh, hell no. And he wrote me a check, and he says, use this to go get you an attorney. And so I did, and I got me a pretty good one.
In fact, we've had him on the show.
Actually, Charlie was the second lawyer I got.
Right. That's part of the story that we have in one of those previous episodes. So people can go back and listen to that, definitely. But you ended up with Charlie in the end.
Yes. And so anyway, I get my attorney, and we start going off, and then she starts getting a little pissed. And she makes one allegation that I had physically abused Eric, that I had smacked him on the butt so hard that I'd left a handprint. So I get hauled into CPS. And this lady that investigated, she was probably in her early 40s, an older, more experienced woman.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told her, I said, no. I said, have I spanked him? On occasion. I said, I couldn't tell you the last time it had been. I said it was for, serious issues such as running out in traffic or running away in a parking lot, those kinds of things.
Which, by the way, in Texas, spanking is not against the law.
No. Now, spanking so hard that you leave a handprint, yeah.
But that's against the law everywhere.
Well, absolutely. So, but I told her, I said, it was a very rare. I said, my number one use is timeout.
Sure.
And I said, either he goes to timeout or the toys that he's playing with go to timeout. But I said, that's the primary means. I said, that's how it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she goes, well, that's, that kind of corroborates. Eric couldn't corroborate, that this event had ever happened either.
Good.
And case dismissed. All right. So that goes pretty good. And things are going on. Some of the, but the actions of his mother start to ratchet up, and she won't, after a few months, I'd moved into an apartment. Well, I'd asked for clothes for Eric, which is, she said, well, I'm not going to send him over with a suitcase anymore. And I go, well, can I have some of his clothes from his closet? So, because, she was making twice as much money as I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I was making, I forget what I was making.
Let's just suffice it to say you were a school teacher at the time, so
and she was
not making a lot of money.
No, and she was a college professor, and I was paying her child support because, Eric was living with her. So I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I said, can you send some? No, I ain't sending no clothes. You buy him clothes. That's your job. And I said, well, can you send some toys? I'd be nice to have some of the things from, his room at the house that we built for him so he can have over here. So she sent me over ultimately some clothes that were 3 and 4 sizes too small. Sent over, a few books and a couple of wall decorations. But that was it. She said, you need to go buy it. I ain't giving you this. And so that was getting kind of aggravating. She would call while he was over with me and try and, at first it was just a visit.
Yeah.
Well, then the visits were, well, when you come home, we're going to go do this and this and this, and so maybe you can come home early. Well, she was now trying to cut into my time. And it was kind of like, wait a minute, this is my time. I get from, I guess it was from Friday night to Sunday night, every other weekend. I mean, I went from a full-time 24/7 dad to an every other weekend dad. And it was kind of like, this is crap.
And it sounds to me, I'm kind of a lay person at this, right? I've watched some people get divorced. I've seen amicable divorces that did not really affect the kids terribly. I've seen it with kids that are still at home and with kids that are adults. I've seen different types. I've seen parents act in very different ways. But this action that you're talking about, where she's sending you kind of the lesser clothing and the lesser toys and then doing those, it's like she's kind of souring the experience of Eric being with you.
Yeah.
And making it look really good to be with her, so that Eric will choose more to be with her than to be with you.
Yes.
And that kind of thing.
Well, and then she would try to set things up for us to do while on my time. And then, of course, that's, whoa, wait a minute. I already had something else planned. Well, she got him all worked up about going to this event. Look, I got you tickets to the Shriner Circus. Oh, you guys are going to have so much fun. You're going to go to Shriner Circus and you're going to see this, this, and this, and this. Well, she never cleared it with me. She never asked. She never said, hey, I got this wonderful opportunity. Would you like to take Eric to the circus?
Right.
She just did it, and lo and behold, he, and it's kind of, well, wait a minute, we can't do that. Well, now I look like the pig. Other times, let's see, what were some of the other stuff? One time we went to church, and I got, they were selling Girl Scout cookies, so I bought some Girl Scout cookies. We only ate a few. I gave him the box. I sent him the box with him, and then I did, beyond the every other weekend, I would get Thursday evenings for 2 hours. So I went and picked him up that next Thursday for our 2 hours, and he brings out the Girl Scout cookies with him. And I go, what's up with this? He goes, Mommy says I can only eat them with you because you bought them. I was kind of like, what a crock. They're cookies. Eat the flipping cookies because you like them. Doesn't matter who buys them.
Right.
I also was able to I would call him, from, at least once or twice a week. I call him, and she would rarely let me talk to him. Well, he's in the shower, or he's actually fallen asleep. This was at 7:15 at night. This boy never went to bed that early.
Wow.
Unless he was sick. All right. So I'm calling, around 7 o'clock, 7:15 to talk to him. Well, and then the few times, she would put him on the phone. He would say, hi, Daddy. Don't want to talk to you. Bye, Daddy. And that was it. And this went on for a long time. Then she finally made a claim that I had sexually abused him.
No, goodness.
And she had coerced Eric enough that he kind of corroborated the story. But what was funny is that this was the way this worked out. It was on a Wednesday, and he had a regular meeting. We had a play therapist he saw on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And so he was supposed to go see the play therapist on Thursday. So Eric's mom calls up the play therapist, and she basically, over the phone, tells Eric's mom how to have him draw a picture of something.
Wow.
And I know this because she testified to this in court. And so Eric's mom, with Eric, draw a picture. All right. They drew the picture together at the house. Right. They then take that to CPS, and Eric makes, quote, an outcry.
Right.
Well, that leads to a big deal that ultimately leads to my getting arrested. I get laid off from my job.
Wow.
And I am denied the right to see Eric. And it stays this way this was in October, and it stays this way till we go to court in mid-December.
Now, my understanding from what you've told me before, Eric's mom was involved in criminal justice.
So she had a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Kansas State University.
So she knew what she was doing.
She had a master's degree in clinical psychology from Emporia State University,
Okay.
and a master's degree in sociology and a PhD in criminology from Penn State University. So yeah, she knew how to play the game.
So you're dealing with somebody who would be, if they wanted to do parental alienation, could be a master at it.
Oh, and she was. Now, I will say that over the years since this, I've met people that they did not have near the background, but were able to be just as effective.
Wow.
And they did a lot of the same things because false accusations of abuse is very common in stage 3 alienation because she wanted me out of the picture. And so we wind up going to court, and at the end of the trial, which, like I say, was mid-December, the judge goes ahead and he grants the divorce, and he says, because it was I don't know, it was right before Christmas. It was like the week before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular year, because it was an even number, she got Christmas, I got New Year's. And so he said that visitation will begin when you take Eric to see his dad on the 27th of December, and he will keep Eric until the day before school starts.
Okay.
And so, okay, ta-da, problem solved. Well, lo and behold, two things then happen. On Christmas Eve, she takes Eric to Children's Hospital down in Dallas, claiming that he was going to either kill me or kill himself if he had to see me.
Wow.
This is a kid who had just turned 7. I did not get to see him for his birthday. He goes down to Children's Hospital.
Wow.
And he is down there for a month. I go down there. I try to see him. I take him a toy, and he didn't want the toy. In fact, I was told later that he actually, under his mother's suggestion, gave it to another child.
Wow.
And so, anyways, during the stay at the hospital, I get introduced to therapy. There is a psychologist that was treating Eric, and so he would see Eric and his mother together, would see me together, and trying to address Eric's illogical fear. He was afraid that I would get into Children's Hospital and come up and kidnap him or kill him.
Wow.
And so anyway, so the doctor agreed to set up a meeting. And so I hadn't seen Eric since the 1st of October. Yeah, 1st of October, 2010. Okay. And lo and behold, we set this all up, and Eric comes out, and he sees me, and he gets all excited. He starts running up. He gets about 5 steps, and then he stops dead cold. And I'm saying, hey, Eric, it's good to see you. I mean, I'm starting to tear up. And I asked, how's he doing? And then he goes up to the doctor, and next thing you know, he goes back into the treatment center. And the doctor said, he doesn't want to see you. And so at the end of the day, he's there for a month, and but his time is the same time that Eric was admitted to Children's, his mother filed an appeal for the court hearing, or for the trial, the divorce and all that. So the judge actually, he was a relatively new judge at the time, he actually throws out the whole case and he says, we're going to start all over. So on the 17th of February, we have another hearing, and we're basically back to ground zero. We're starting all over. And so we go to this hearing, and we're presenting both sides. By this time, Charlie's been my lawyer since, I don't know, I got arrested. Charlie became my attorney because he could do both criminal law and family law.
Sure.
So I had to say goodbye to my original attorney. And anyway, so we go, and Charlie was asking for an ad litem attorney, so that it'd basically be an attorney just for Eric.
Right.
He also was going to ask that Eric's mom and I go and get a psychological evaluation. And he was going to ask for restoration of my visitation rights. So we go to court, and when it was all over, it was on a Thursday, and when it was all over, the judge said, you know what, it's very clear that this boy needs his dad and this dad needs his boy. He says, even though CPS was saying, well, let's err on the side of caution, he said, we're going to start visitation effective this weekend. And as luck would have it, my best friend Steve was up from Houston, and I got to go see Eric on Friday for the first time in 4.5 months.
Wow. So, I mean, it's just crazy. This whole story of parental alienation here and moving from kind of a stage 1 to a stage 2 to a stage, sort of like a 3-alarm fire, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've gotten to this point where somebody who is very educated in the fields that would know a lot about this is actually kind of perpetrating this on you and your son, and has taken it to this extreme level. But the judge seems to be kind of seeing your side and seeing through all this at this point.
Yeah, he was.
So we're kind of out of time for today's episode. So what we want to do is roll this into the next episode, and we can finish up and talk about some of the other things that related to this that you wanted to discuss.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
So we're going to leave it there for today, and we'll have another episode next week. It'll be the very next one where we can kind of wrap this up.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. So
I didn't realize I'd gotten so long-winded.
No, it's a great story. People need to hear it.
All right. Well, then I guess until next time, I'm Rod.
And I'm Scott.
Bye.
Bye.